What's up? Welcome to the Boss Fest podcast. I don't know what we're gonna call this, the after hour edition, the behind the scenes edition. I don't know what this is, but this is for the YouTube only exclusive content.
Maybe we should call this I can't hear myself. My mic on, guy?
Can you twist your plug again
Twist my plug.
on your headset? It's always your headset. You bought a $4 headset and talking about somebody can't hear myself. Got it.
I did buy a $4 headset, but I twisted it and did everything else and I still can't hear myself.
Like, can you use the $100 headsets we have?
Um they don't have sparkles.
Got it.
So maybe we should call this Boss Fest Unfiltered.
Sure.
But nonetheless, I'm Edwina.
And I'm Kevin.
And I'm really excited for today's conversation.
This ain't the podcast. It's just me and you talking. So unfiltered should be like the conversations we have after the fact. So
well, I mean, I'm still excited about the conversation. So the last podcast I had was with a group of women, and we were talking about the black woman in today's society. And this is coming off of the election between Kamala and Trump. And a lot of black women turned out. In fact, 92% of the black female vote voted for Kamala. And what I started noticing, and of course, this is just a me thing, I'm not speaking for everyone, was that social media really started going in on black females like once the election results came out. And so I started to feel a certain type of way about that. And I'm like, the election results are already in. Trump won, like everything lit up red and even won the popular vote. I don't understand why it became an attack on the black female after that. And I saw it from black men. I saw it, let me just say, I saw it from men of all races. And I'm still very unsure why black women became a target. I guess I'll leave it at that. I'm just unsure why that was.
I seen what you're saying. And it took me a little bit more to recognize what was truly happening, right? And the election results came out. It was projected that Donald Trump would be the president. When we woke up that next day from November 5th, it was like, yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed, assured that he will become the next president of the United States. And what you saw on social media, especially in black space as well, people trying to deal with the the impact of what this election means. Because I think a lot of people felt like this election was different emotionally, spiritually, racially. And a lot of times in these elections, black women carry the vote in the black community. And we started to see that divide between black men and black women with the Democratic Party. And it started to become a narrative out there that, like, man, black men ain't going to support Kamala, or black men don't support black women. And you're going to see it with this result. But I just think it was a narrative that, man, black men were just starting to leave from the Democratic Party. But those certain narratives started to play out. And, as the election results came through and he was the winner, everybody started, either sharing their discontent or their joy. And I think black women started receiving the brunt of a lot of this energy that was going out there. So I definitely agree. And all the comments I seen, it was almost like men fighting with women, but I didn't really see a lot of men fighting with other men. And I don't know, maybe it's because the women were more boisterous. I don't know. It just started to get ugly here. I ain't in that space.
So I feel like when you preface something, it's always like the nice little way to say it. I mean, let's call it what it is. Like I saw posts where there were black men coming after black women. I think I told you the other day, like, hey, there was a post that we're getting into the holiday season and there was a sale at a hair store and there were black women in line. And then another black man decided to take a picture of the women in line and then posted and was like, well, why are black females got to be lined up for this, but they not lined up to buy properties, are lined up to invest in themselves. And I felt a certain type of way about that. I'm like, there's no need for you to take a picture of people in line. People line up during the holiday season for everything. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it at, the Best Buys, the Walmart, so wherever people line up for wherever there's a deal. But this post particularly bothered me because now I'm like, you're attacking Black women. And why can't Black women have a business and be in line? Why can't Black women have a job and be in line? Why can't they be invested in themselves, but also be in line for a sale? And why does the Black man have to come for the Black woman? Like, lift us up. And I said the other night on my podcast that the Black woman is the most disrespected person on this universe. And I think that started from when Malcolm X said it, but it still stands true today. And this election, because people wanted to say, well, Kamala isn't Black, she's Indian, and now all of a sudden she wants to embrace her Blackness. I think that's what opened the doors for people to now attack Black women, because they were attacking this one Black woman, which then became a whole like encompassing of attacking all Black women. And I'm like, you can be a melting pot of several different races. We all are mixed with something. If you can embrace your heritage, why can't she? And why can't we just uplift women? Like, the election is over, the results are in, Trump won. Why do we now have to attack our women? I don't understand that. And furthermore, the Black woman is a cornerstone of the Black household. I feel like she's the cornerstone of the Black community. And if nothing else, Black men should be coming to protect us. And like you said on social media, it felt like there was a lot of people, I've even seen other races like arguing with Black women, but not a lot of Black men standing up and saying enough. Like, we stand in front of our Black women. It was just a lot of going at them and attacking them, and Black women coming to the rescue of other Black women.
So several things going to play there. One thing I believe is this. So I'm gonna say this. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. And as you started speaking, I started processing, like, why does this narrative even play out? Why does it even exist this way, right? And I was just processing it for quite some time. There's been this narrative that, and Black women have kind of alluded to it and put it out there themselves. Like,
I'm wondering, like, you keep trying to form a thought and then you keep changing it. So
I'm not changing anything. I'm trying to make sure I say it right.
Okay.
Because I want you to understand what I'm saying. But there's this independence that Black women say, I am this independent. I don't need nothing. I don't want nothing. I can do it all on my own, by myself, da, 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 da. That is the only race of people, especially in America, who gravitates to that mindset. And now that we've adopted this mindset, we've told it 1,000 times, we've perpetrated in videos and everything else. Now it's like, why don't y'all come protect us? And a lot of Black men, a lot of people are like, man, shoot, y'all was fighting your battles, y'all standing up, y'all doing this. So maybe I don't need to step out. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean
it's definitely a cop out.
It doesn't mean it doesn't have validity.
Woman, literally, let's say when a community is trouble,
it's a cop out, but it don't mean it don't have validity. And I think that's the part of this problem, man, is that the moment someone tries to say something, it's automatically dismissed or devaluing what they're saying. And then when no one comes to a Black woman's rescue, it's like, well, why ain't you doing your part? Because someone tries to say something,
want to look to the Black woman.
It's always a cop out. It's always
if the Black man is in trouble, he looks to the Black woman to support him, to come to him. Yes. Literally in the community, Black women have had to hold communities together. It's the Black man that has left the Black woman to have to fend for herself. If you look at single households, which now is starting to change, the narrative is just now starting to change. But think when we were growing up, how many friends really had fathers that were in the same household? It was very few and far between.
How many Black women broke up the household?
That's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is,
you're going to add it all up and add it all up.
I'd have to look at the statistics, but what I'm saying is
80% of women execute
women
divorces.
were holding down households, and you have to be strong to be able to do that. Like sometimes 1-2 jobs. So a Black man cannot be actually living in the household, but still could take care of his responsibilities. How many times does that happen? But we're saying now, be strong, Black woman, take care of our children, hold us down on your own, but don't be stronger than us. Like, I still want you to be submissive. And when I say move, then you follow me. Like, be for real. Like,
I'm just telling you, you want to go on your tangent, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying you don't have any valid points, but don't dismiss my points. And I think that's part of the damn divide now, is that we in this space where it's like, well, why don't you see me? Like, shit, you ain't listening to what I'm telling you. Like, actually stop for a second. Stop yamming your mouth and listen to what I'm damn saying. I'm telling you, this is the way I feel. I tell you my feelings, and now we be the little.
Are you talking about black men now, or you talking about yourself?
I'm talking about black men. Because when we do this stuff, that's what are you talking about yourself? No, I'm talking about the stories I hear from my brothers out here in the community. Because in essence, I have done everything I'm supposed to do as a black man, as a black father, as a husband, as a provider, and things like that. And I still get it wrong. But if you look at it from the essence of doing what you're supposed to do, marrying a woman of my children, taking care of my household, raising a family, being that dude in that community, that's supporting other kids and stuff like that, I have fit that T 100%. But still, people like me are still seen as or could be devalued and stuff whenever a woman gets in her emotions. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about women in general.
No, but that's what I want to ask you. When do you get devalued? So are you saying like there's a specific argument and then you get devalued?
The moment a woman is upset, especially a black woman gets upset with a man for whatever reason, he is less than.
So are you telling me that white women don't get upset and then in arguments don't say things towards their men? That is only a black characteristic? Is that what you're saying?
What I am saying is that it is not verbalized or projected as much as it is in the black community. If it is happening, you don't see it in no country songs. I'm just saying.
Do you listen to country songs? Like what? You just saying anything at this point?
I'm not saying it. There you go.
Yeah. So I do hear you.
Another example of you not listening, but go ahead.
Tell me how you feel, what you're saying.
And now we gotta be like, oh my God, let me continue to listen to your feelings.
No,
and your
because
thoughts,
what you're now saying is, hey, I've checked the box, which I don't know who made the boxes, but you've checked off all the boxes. And it sounds like what you're saying is I am now considering myself to be high tier because I've checked off the box. So I want to be clear if that's what you're saying. And then if you are considered to be a high tier man because you checked off all these boxes, or let me correct it, a high tier black man because you checked off all these boxes. I did not say that.
I said I met my obligations, which means I'm telling you, as a provider, as a husband, as a father, I said I met the baseline obligations.
Right. Well, no just say baseline because you didn't say baseline before. Because now you're saying there's no room to critique you in these obligations that you have met.
Absolutely.
So then what you're now saying is if there's an argument between you and a black woman in a household, she should not be able to say anything because you have checked off these obligations.
That's not what I said. Why did you hear something I didn't say?
I'm repeating back to you exactly what I heard.
Right. You heard something completely different in your head. What I said was, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a man and in the household, why is that whenever a woman becomes upset, the devaluing happens? If we're upset about something, I don't go.
Give us an example of devaluing. Maybe we need to understand what that is for you.
All right. So here are the examples I've heard numerous times from multiple men who've been in relationships, been married, divorced, and everything like that, right? It's as long as my wife is happy, the household is happy, right? If I give into the whims of her emotions and things like that, everything's fine. But if I don't feel a certain type of way about something, and now she is a disagreement with that, now all of a sudden I'm the worst thing ever. And these stories come from men who have been divorced. And
explain the worst thing ever, though, because you're still not going deep into that. I think what you're saying right now is every woman. Like, so that's like, I want what I want.
I care that I'm saying those are characteristics that are exuded in the black household. Because
right now, to me, what it sounds like you are just throwing out things and there's no baseline. So that's why I'm asking you. But go ahead. I am listening. What is the devaluing? So to me, what I hear, I'll take black men, black women out of it. A mother and a child. I tell the child, no, you can't have that. The child throws a little fit in an attempt for me to give them what they ask for is what it sounds like you're saying. Some parenting techniques are you give the child what they want. The situation's over. The child now learns from that behavior. And every time I want something, I throw a little fit. The other parenting technique is I let you do your tantrum. You sit over there, you pout, you do whatever. I'm still not giving in. And we move on past that. Second parenting technique. So I'm listening to what you're saying and you're like, okay, I am hitting my obligations, but if it doesn't go the way that this woman wants it to go, she, let's say, for lack of better explanation, throws a tantrum, and now in this tantrum, I'm boo boo, whatever. And so now I got to give in. It sounds to me like every type of relationship where you now have created a behavior. So if you don't give in, she throws a tantrum that gets you to give in. That does not seem like a Black woman characteristic to me. I see that in children. In fact, I see that in white children all the time. So I know that would have to be prevalent in white households. So I'm asking you the difference between the Black woman and any other woman, and you're not giving me a strong enough example to say, you know what, that is absolutely something that Black women need to stop.
Black women need to stop devaluing men who are actually taking care and handling their responsibility. Whether you are in a relationship with them or not, a lot of times Black women purposely use the child in situations to try to hold the man hostage. So even if a man wanted to do his best and be a part of his child's life, he already has the system against him that's going to automatically give the woman all the rights over the child or primary rights over the child. So then he has to fight that system. Then he has to wage the wars of how that woman is feeling in that day or that moment. And if
so what we're going to do is we're going to really go down a line of bashing the Black women.
Oh my God, you asked for an example. I provided an example. Now it's a bashing of Black women. You still not listening to me. What I'm saying is if we actually stopped and listened to each other and say, hey, why don't we get away from these toxic traits? Then maybe more Black men will say, you know what? Stop messing with these Black women. Stop doing that. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do this. But what's happening is like people are just stepping back.
No, because what you're saying is the Black woman uses the child as a hostage. I have friends that are single moms, and I can't speak to that.
Okay. Got it.
So in this narrative that you're painting, and you're saying that the Black woman needs to stop using the child as a pawn in this situation.
You asked for some type of example. I tried to provide some type of example. And now what you want to do is you want to deconstruct that. So it's still a deconstruction of the words to try to tell me.
Because you want me to say, yes, I accept what you're saying.
I've already said that Black men aren't doing their part for Black women. I'm trying to tell you.
I don't think you said that.
Oh my God.
But I hear it now.
Oh my God.
I hear it now.
Yeah, okay.
And so you're now saying that Black women are using, so let's just say maybe there is a section of Black women, because the Black women I know, and I'm going to say I'm a little bit older, so maybe this is in a different generation, are using their children as pawns. I think Black women want Black men to step up. It is exhausting to be a mother. I like split this job with me 50-50, get these damn kids. So you saying like, oh, you can't see the kid and I'm just keeping the kid. Like that seems crazy to me. You are now making the burden hard for you when mental health is so like prevalent in today's society. Like people want a break. So you're telling me there's a Black man that's like, I would love to have my kids and I would love to give you a break and I would love to take care of my kids and I would love to put money in the household to support my kids. And there's a Black woman out there that's like, nah, hell nah. I don't want none of that shit. I'm just gonna make it hard for you.
I'm saying the men that are out there doing their part are devalued, and the men who don't give a fuck are continuously making babies. And when you look at that narrative, especially if you look at the single parent rate, like single Black men versus single Black women, it's double. There's more single Black women than there is single Black. I mean, not single. What's the word I'm looking for? There are more Black women with kids, doubled around with kids than there are Black men with kids, right? So what they're saying is that the same ain't shit dudes are still out here making all the kids, with the dudes who have the potential to be exactly what you're looking for, or not seen or not valued and things of that nature. But you asked for some type of example. I tried to find one that would fit the narrative. And what you tried to do was just destruct it. Just try to destroy it, deconstruct it, and try to make it seem, well, that ain't the way it is. No, that has some validity. Does it fit every narrative? No, it don't. But it has validity. So if Black women if Black women want a protector, then they would act like they want to be saved. Black women don't act like they wish to be saved. White women do it, Indian women do it, Spanish women do it. So you can't go around here puffing your chest up all the time and rah, 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 I'm the man, and then get mad when a man say, okay, be the man. More Black women exhibit that trait than any other race, especially in America.
All right, so let me ask you
now
this.
deconstruct that.
I'm about to.
I know you is. You and you.
So, but what I want to ask you is, so what you said is Black women don't act like they want to be saved. So I should act like I want to be saved rather than continuing on the life or the journey that I know how to do and provide until someone comes to try to save me. So and let me like go deeper into that. Let me say like there's a Black woman who has a career. She has children. She owns her own home. She's working and doing whatever. Do you think that the right Black man can't come along and tell her, I got it now, and make her feel safe? And I believe if that Black man came along to tell her, like, sis, I got you, she would do exactly that and let him lead and save her. But why would you act like you want to be saved, which means making yourself vulnerable before you have a savior? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. We got to be out here. Black women have to be the strongest person all the time. That's whether we're in the corporate world. Like we have to be twice as good as everyone else. And I'm not saying that the Black man doesn't, but it's like you're always on. So Black women don't get a break. We got to handle the households in some cases. We got to be the boss at work. It's like you never get a break from turning it off. So I believe the average Black woman does want to live in her femininity and say, hey, you can come save me. But I would never say, sis, act like you need to be saved before there's someone to save you.
And here goes the deconstructing of find a word to try to tear down. Oh, now I need to look like I'm weak. No one's telling you to look like you weak.
I'm asking you.
What I'm saying.
So how do you look like, hey, I want to be saved before there's anybody there willing to save you?
So you corporate space women who doing everything, holding everything down, got your house and got your cars and got everything. That is great. The right man comes along. So let's speak on that narrative.
Okay.
The right man can come along, but he still would have to prove himself times 10 before you even let that door down or that guard down to let him prove to you like, hey, I can be this for you. It's always on super guard. There is no real. I can read that now. So there is no narrative in place where, it's like, all right, I'm looking at each situation differently. Women always carry the baggage from the last situation, and the man got to deal with all that stuff, get you to a point, then prove to you that, oh, I can be all this, but still sometimes ain't even dealt with his own stuff. But I need to go and fix all of this.
I'm glad that you said that he still hasn't even dealt with his own stuff, because I feel like the conversation that we're having is exactly what's happening that's playing out on social media. It is still a lot of attacking towards Black women. So I think in any relationship, in any race, people bring baggage into that relationship. I got with you 20 some plus years ago. There was still baggage from both sides. There was so much baggage still 20 plus years later. We are still breaking that down and handling that. But what I'm saying to you is, why is that a Black woman trait? People do bring baggage from past relationships. People do set expectations in relationships. That's just the human nature. So yes, will there be some baggage? Does a man have to come a certain type of way towards a certain type of woman? He does, regardless of the race, he does. But what I'm saying to you is the man that is fit for that woman or supposed to be with her will understand, hey, what she needs. And I think when she realizes, hey, this is the guy that I've been looking for, all of that will calm down. Like, he will be able to lead her, because ultimately Black women don't want to have to be strong all the time. Like, it is completely exhausting, have to be wearing the weight of the world constantly.
You say that, but it don't emulate in public spaces, on social media and all that stuff.
Those aren't places of vulnerability. Those are not places where Black women feel safe to be like, okay,
but ain't no Black man on social media talking about I want to be by myself. I want to do this alone. I'm independent. I'm this, I'm that. You don't really see that from a whole bunch of white women. You don't see that from Hispanic women, from Asian women, from Indian women.
So why don't we call it what it is? This is the Black man's fault.
Ooh.
So if we go back to
It's
years
black-
and breaking down
here is why,
households,
here is why you're not seeing that overflowing of protection, because now we're blamed for all of the traumas that have happened to black women.
well, go back. You're
men-
definitely Mr.
even men who do their part still get blamed for all the traumas of black women. Go ahead.
You are Mr. Facts, and you pull out all the
You told me.
facts.com.
You told me don't tell your facts because you're gonna
but
dismiss
you
them,
know
Trump.
them, so I feel like
I do
whoa,
know them.
whoa.
But what's the point of me?
Whoa.
What? I'm gonna tell you facts, and you're gonna tell me it's not a fact.
But I just want to go back. So now I want to be clear, since you just decided that you wanted to call me Trump. Like in this podcast,
Right.
when we start throwing out derogatory names, because that's what I felt like you did,
Because you don't want to hear my facts.
I'm gonna throw them back.
Right. The difference is what I did was I took a character trait of Trump, who likes
I'm
to
going to
devalue,
take a character trait as well and throw it back at you, black man.
Who likes to not accept facts and terms, but it's not to insult you as a person or an entity.
But what I'm telling you, the reason why I went
you're
back,
now not listening to the facts.
No.
Tell me, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to find the lowest degrading thing to throw back at me at the moment you can, and that is the damn problem.
That is not the problem, because that's the reason. The whole reason why I went back, and I said, pay attention to this, because we were having a conversation.
We're still having a conversation.
You decided to throw out a name.
We're still having a conversation.
I told you
just
in
the
that
name,
and I told you I feel like, hey, hold on, that feels like you're throwing out a derogatory name towards me. You are literally calling me something that I don't agree with in myself. I feel offended by you doing that. I am telling you that. I went back and I said, oh, hold on. Ouch. I'm offended by you saying that. So now when I throw out an offensive name, no matter what level, I want you to understand where it started from.
It can start
and
from
it
there.
started from you.
But nope, it originated from anytime I would put out facts or say something that you didn't have no proof of. I was telling the truth.
Because
how would you devalue?
Feel like you are now losing an argument and you are throwing out names. So I'm going to go back.
Anything.
What I said was, I feel like we can go back to when men were not in a household, and how, I mean, we can go back to times of slavery when they were breaking up black families. Women had to be strong and hold that together. I think what we're seeing is the power of the black woman, and the reason why she feels like she has to be so strong stems back generations. And I'm not go check facts, but you are. I feel like if you went and you did the research behind that, I feel like that's where you start seeing this stem from. The black community has been the target to break up families. Like, that has literally been the initiative to tear our families apart.
But that wasn't the black man's design. What you saying is the black man's fault that that's happened. No, it's the black man's fault that it's continuing if it continues now.
Yes.
But you now see the trend shifting. You see,
I'm agree with you. I do see the trend shifting. I'm not debating
because
that.
There's been enough black men raised by single mothers who saw their mothers struggle, who are now looking at their grandmothers by themselves and things like that and say, man, I don't ever want to put the woman who's taking care of my child through that situation. Let's figure this out. Let's get together. Let's make it work. And that trend is shifting. But more importantly, black women or the black community is not starting to feed from the government as much as it used to, and believing like, man, if I could submit to this government whim, then I'm going to get all of these great benefits. They don't see it as a benefit no more. That stuff that used to be benefits when they used to build up all the projects and all the homes, and here's free housing, here's free lights, here's free water, here's free. The only thing you can't have is a man in your household. And now you got to live on $20,000. And now $20,000 ain't going to do nothing. But I get it. You didn't have to pay for no rent. You didn't have to pay for no lights. You didn't have to pay for no water. All you had to do is continuously have kids.
So let's go back, since what you said at one point, I felt like was where we can come to an agreement on. Okay. I feel like the narrative is shifting. So we agreed that black households were the target and we were being torn apart. And now the narrative is changing. Do you think a generation of women that have been groomed to have to be strong because our households were changing, do you think they could automatically just switch that off? So if right now the shift is happening where more black men are in their households, more black men are taking care of their children, more black men are standing up to say, hey, I'm keeping my family together. But this grooming of black women having to be strong and hold households together starts goes back histories like years and years. Why do you think all of a sudden they can just turn that off and say, okay, here you go, I trust that? They have literally had to do this for centuries, and now we're saying that the narrative is changing and the black man is now becoming more prevalent in the household. Why do we think all of a sudden that they can just be like, here you go, black man?
Nobody's saying here you go, black man. What we are saying is that we're understanding we're dealing with our trauma, we're dealing with our issues, right? More and more black men are seeking therapy and counseling. It's more acceptable nowadays. Before, you just have to just bottle all that stuff up. We're actually having real conversations with each other as men to hold each other accountable. When I'm talking with my friends, we're conversing and we're just having this dialogue. It isn't nothing that's about, man, go out here and sex everything and do this. It's like being kings, raising our kids, raising our being true to the women that we've committed ourselves to, being better leaders in our community. Those are the conversations I'm having now in these at this time of day. When I was growing up and it was younger, it was, man, you need to go try to get her and get her and get her and get her, because it was like, man, just have fun and do what you got to do. That's not the conversations we're having now with our kids. Any child or anyone that's younger than me, and we converse and we have these conversations, I'm like, man, listen, it's best just to go ahead and figure out that partner that you can commit to, because it gets lonely as you get older. And like I said, it may be fun now in your 20s, but once you start going into your 30s and your 40s, and you dudes that still playing the game, it's because they stuck in the game and they don't really know themselves.
All right, so let's keep that energy right there. So what you're saying is now in your 40s, the conversation has shifted and we are talking about more things to change the next generation.
Correct.
So maybe that happens with the generations to come. Because what I'm saying right now is, think about that. When you were coming up, there were more single family households, like a woman taking care of her children.
Yes.
And then the conversations that you and the other like people that you're around were having was like, let's go mess with all the chicks. So obviously some babies come of that, and you're not even old enough to say, hey, I can like handle what this responsibility is. So you're creating more single family homes. But now the conversation is changing, and the conversations are the accountability that you're having with the people around you are saying, we take care of our homes, we need to take care of our community. That is a different conversation now. So maybe it's that we are starting to get into that whole path where like our children will understand, hey, I grew up in a 2-family household. When I take when I get married, I want my family to stay together. I saw my dad in the community, so that's what I'm supposed to do, instead of what it was when we were coming up. But what we're still saying is black women can't be strong and they shouldn't be out here having a voice. But we are just now changing the narrative.
You can't have a voice. Stop putting words out there. Nobody said you can't have a voice. Nobody said you can't show strength. What I am saying is that if you want to be protected, and that's the key word you keep using, like, why don't, especially black men, why don't see more and more black men coming to the rescue of black women? It's because
I am literally seeing right now black men tearing black women down.
So
even if you say, hey, I'm not going to protect them, there's no reason for you to tear them down.
I hear what you're saying. You're correct. I don't know all the examples that you're looking at and you're seeing. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, maybe this or maybe that. You are 100% correct. There's no reason for me to try to tear down another human being. There's definitely no reason as me as a black man should be trying to tear down another black woman and make her feel less than or devalued in any way, which is why I don't play in those spaces. There are some people out there that loves and thrives to play in those spaces. Whether it's their upbringing, whether they've been tacked too many times and they like, you know what, I'm going to give it just as well as I get it. And sometimes these men have been getting it for so long that they don't care who they give it to now.
I mean, maybe it still feels like to me that you're trying to make some justification.
I didn't make a justification.
So let's move past that. If you're saying you don't play in the space and you don't agree with it, then that's what it is.
That's what I said.
Right. But I mean, now you're saying, well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. It just feels like a justification. So what I'm saying is I've seen black men tear black women down as of recent. I've seen Spanish men tear black women down. I've seen white men now trying to tear black women down. And I just don't understand why in this climate that the black woman has become the target. And that's how this conversation started. And I'm saying, as black men, why are we not standing in front of this to say, hey, this is our community, the same way you say that you and your friends are or the people you congregate around are saying, like, we do more for the community. Why are we not standing in front of this and saying, I refuse to let you tear down our Black women? And just like you said, I refuse to let you tear down any person, so much less the Black woman.
I don't have no validity, no truth. This is just my thought, my assumption. I don't have no facts to put behind this.
Okay.
So here's my assumption of why this narrative seems to be playing out more prevalent for Black women. I believe Black women have went into their boss mode in this era. So all the songs are working. Be independent, be your boss, be strong. You don't need him for nothing. Be this, be that, be that. And you can see it across our entire spectrum. You see more and more Black women taking control of their future, whether it's getting a higher within our college structure. You see that the colleges, even in HBCUs, even in PWIs, there are more Black women, damn near triple the amount of Black women as it is to Black men. Black men are still in frontline jobs. Black women like, no, I know I ain't finna go out here and dig no ditch or build no house, so I need to go find my bag. And they getting into medical, getting into nursing, getting into accounting, education, and things of this nature. And you become the right type of nurse, and you start making this money. Yeah, I don't need you for nothing, Mr. Warehouse Worker. And what's starting to happen is these Black women are saying, listen, I am now my own boss. And that does become threatening to people who feel like they should have a superiority over you, which is the same narrative that you see white people are now having in America, because they used to be the super majority and and now that's shrinking. So you're starting to see that fight back. And Black women are now being attacked and being seen as less than, because that's the only thing that can be said now, because it isn't through actual data, because it's proven that Black women are strong, successful, building that bag up. The only thing you can say now is to try to use words to discredit. And we saw that play out with Kamala. We sat there and we listened to all these people sit there and say she's unqualified and tried to give cadence to a man who we know is unqualified. But somehow half of the country who voted said that this person was more qualified than a person that's been in community service doing community work for over 30, 40 years.
Right. Now, if we were definitely doing a show, you know what I'm saying? Like we were, what do they call it? Like real life, whatever kind of a reality show. Right. If we were doing a reality show, then 100%, you know, like Trump should have got everyone's vote, because he is definitely qualified for doing that, you know, but his resume does not stack up to her resume.
Not in public service. No. And what the Trump campaign did that the Harris campaign couldn't do within the amount of time is get the people to buy in to the process and what she would bring to the table. I truly believe Kamala was a scapegoat for the Democratic Party. Joe Biden should have dropped out a long time ago, but more importantly, the Democratic Party knew that Joe Biden was suffering and was losing it, and they still tried to prop him up. And when it failed,
I agree with that.
And when it failed miserably, and they knew that they was going to lose everything, they was like, man, who can we put here? And there was no other person they can put there except his vice president. And if it were me, like, and I think because she's so strong and she's such a steward of community service, she was like, yes, let's go. Which is why she was able to get all of the nominations and the votes in an unprecedented way. And that started the narrative there. You was unqualified. The first thing they said was, oh man, she wasn't even supposed to be vice president. She was a DEI hire. Why did that narrative go out there? It wasn't because she wasn't qualified. It's because Joe Biden himself put that narrative out there. Oh, I'm going to hire a Black woman. I don't care. So what he told the rest of the country is that I don't care if you're a qualified white man. I don't care if you're a qualified Black man. I don't care if you're a qualified whatever it is. Regardless, it would be a Black woman. So what Black women did said, okay, fine. Since you're saying it will be a Black woman, here are the most qualified list of Black women that we feel can be best to help support your narrative. Kamala to Stacey Abrams to Keisha Lance Bottoms to several different women that was in the community, that was in a political space who have proven themselves to be leaders, right? He chose Kamala. It made the most sense. But he put that narrative out there. When the border started failing, he threw her out there. Oh, you go deal with that. When stuff started to go back, oh, you deal with that. So she was already cast in a negative light. So the moment she took that position with less than 100 days left to try to now win the nomination, she was in a hole. And she had to go against the grain. She had to swim against the current, per se, just to even gain any traction. And we saw through the election, it didn't. She didn't win not a single county that Biden won. She lost damn near all of
You
the
mean she
strongholds.
didn't win a single county that he didn't win?
No, that he won. Like, if you look at the presidential election in 2020, there were certain counties in like Georgia, that's how he was able to flip Georgia and Arizona and these places like that he won. And those were typically Democratic strongholds, right? She didn't win not a single county, not one, which is why that map looks so red. It's because it's not the areas that we know were going to go to the Republican Party. It was the areas that typically go for the Democratic Party.
Right, but you're saying she didn't win a single county, and that's not true.
She didn't win a single county that Biden won. Like flipped or took her overcome.
That's what I just asked you, and you doubled down on what you said, and I'm like, what you're saying is not making sense. So you're saying that she didn't win a single county that Biden did not win.
That he flipped or turned. So let me preface.
Okay, so I'm like, okay.
My fault. Thank you for allowing me to correct it. Thank you. So there were certain counties that he was able to flip and turn. She wasn't able to do it.
Okay, now it's making more sense. I'm like,
sorry about that. My fault. Thank you for allowing me to correct it. So she was already in a bad place. And when she didn't come out to address the audience that night in typical fashion, I know everything in her spirit it broke her down. Typically,
you assume it broke her down.
I'm going to assume that the weight of the world finally landed on her shoulders in that moment where she thought there was enough hope, there was enough energy, enough people was in her face saying, I got your back, sis. I support you, sis. And when she looked at them maps and she looked at them numbers and she said, shit, that was all a lie.
So I think she has a great support behind her. I will agree with you and say that it was definitely an uphill battle and she did not have enough time. That's 100% sure. 100% I'm behind what you're saying there. I also am like, we spent too long trying to prop Joe up. So I completely agree with that too. He should have dropped out a long time ago. Like, I know they knew his decline way before it was prevalent for everybody else. So we really should have like sat Sleepy Joe down. You know what I mean? But she didn't have enough time. I think one thing in Black women is we're resilient and we're talking about the strength of the Black woman. So I know she knew it was an uphill battle going into it. She knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I feel like that's where a lot of the training and the things came from and why she was strategic in some of the places that she went to speak and, you know, like those type of things. But it was always going to be an uphill battle, 100%. I think she has support. And I would love to see her, you know, come out and try this again when she has the time to really like show people, you know, who she is, have the conversations, have the multiple debates. But it still doesn't give me the answer on why, because we understand that the cards were stacked against her, right? Like nobody's debating that. Why is it still an attack on Black women though?
Right now, what you're seeing on social media is the aftermath of the Trump election. Right now, a lot of Black women feel defeated. They feel lost. They feel like they're putting themselves in Kamala's place, right?
Yes, because what you said to me when she didn't come out and she didn't speak the night of the election to concede the election, I feel like a lot of Black people, especially a lot of Black women, sat in that and said, man, I know how that feels. When you wanted something so bad and you can look at the qualifications for you and the next person and say, man, there's like, I don't understand how people don't see the clear choice is me. And I'm speaking, I'm articulating myself well. I have the background, I have this, I have that, but I'm still not the choice. And when you think of that, like when you internalize that, Why else is that? It's because of who I am, right? Like,
Right.
and I'm not, so I'll go beyond a presidential election because I've been there, right? Never, like on a major like scale, like, something like this. But either way, so when you go up for a job and you're like, the candidates that are going up for that job, and you're like, man, I've been doing twice the work as this person, that I have my resume, anything that, like the company asked me for, I'm the first one to step in line. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You got your whole thing lined up. And then you see the person that they did choose. I think every Black woman could relate to in that moment saying, I can't honestly say, like, why not me? Why can't it be my time? And we all felt that. I don't know 100% if that's what she was feeling, but every Black woman and almost every Black person could have said, we know that feeling. We've been there.
We do. We know that feeling. And I think Black women looked at it as like, man, here's another example of an inexperienced person able to devalue me, devalue my work ethic, my history, my drive, put their own spin on it, and people buy it.
Or another example of why we can never be good enough. And I'll double down to say, and I don't know all of the Kamala research, but I'm sure this is not the first time this has happened. Like, I know in the career that she's had, she's experienced this before.
Absolutely. They said that, that she fucked her way to the top of the Democratic ticket to win California and all that stuff because of a person she had a relationship with, which I don't know, don't care. But
I don't think, why does it matter? Like, literally, we that's what I'm saying. We're throwing out that narrative about who she slept with, but look at Trump. Like, what are we talking about? This guy has had people like say that he's raped them, and y'all are talking about this lady's sexual, like her past. It makes no sense to me. Like, that should not even be a conversation. I fuck who I want to fuck.
Her past was was publicized more than Trump's past and his actions that have put him in criminal lawsuits and things of that nature. She having a relationship with somebody, whether they was married or not, and that was two consenting adults agreeing to whatever they agreed to, was deemed harsher than anything Trump has done anytime.
And you're proving my point. So why is that?
Because we have to create the boogeyman. And we already know that there's a superiority complex, especially in corporate America and corporate space. And you got to think about that from a government perspective too. There's a superiority complex that only a certain amount of people who look a certain way can be in these spaces, right? And I think about when I used to work for Pepsi, we had the Indian CEO, Indria Nooyi was her name. Most powerful CEO in America, things like that during that time frame. She's no longer with that company. And I would just hear stuff, people that ain't even nowhere near her level, just ground level managers and area managers, stuff like, man, she don't know what she talking about. When we gonna hire somebody? I can't believe she got the job and da 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 da. They should have went with such and such. There can't no woman run this company. Like, it was never about her credentials and her qualifications that make her great to be the CEO. It was always something related to her sex, or she's going to be emotional. And I know that has happened within the constructs of all women who move up that corporate ladder. I see it happen with you. I'm seeing it happening with my own leaders and stuff like that. And I know it's a terrible fight. And what happened was, after Election Day, Black women started putting that out there on the book. Like, man, I can't believe this is happening. This is another example of da 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 da. And y'all were saying it, and what started happening was people started attacking it. They started.
But let's live in that space. You said you've seen it with me, and before you spoke, and you said like the statistics show that Black women are in their bag and they're becoming bosses, and they are, and now it's feeling like there's a threat.
Yes.
And I think those two things paired together is literally what the answer is on, like, without directly saying it, on why we are now being attacked. But the same way people are saying that CEO couldn't run that business with having no information whatsoever about her background, you are literally just judging her off the fact that she's a woman.
She's a woman.
And that's the America that we live in now.
That's the America it's always been. what started to happen was Obama came in and he spoke about change, and change was happening. We as a Black community didn't feel like enough was happening for us since it was a Black leader in that position. But there was a shift in the dynamic of how we see things, how women are seen in public places or in corporate spaces and things of that nature. How now incompetent man can't just continue to sit at the top of the ladder when there's a very viable, competent woman, regardless of race, doing it. So that superiority was threatened. And they definitely see it being threatening with Black women, because now Black women are like, man, not only am I going to say it to you, I'm going to say it in your face, and I'm going to say it loud in your face that I'm better than you. Before, we used to have to say it quietly. Now it's like, no, prove to me that you're better than me. Here's my stats. Prove it. People can't prove it no more. So the only thing they can still attack is, well, you know, it's a woman. They get emotional and they get other women to buy into that narrative, especially white women and things of that nature, Hispanic women to buy into that narrative. And like, now, man, do we really want a woman to run this or run the company? You know, they get emotional. Do I really want a woman to have one of the things I heard was like, do we really want a woman to be in access to the nuclear launch codes? And I was like, over Trump?
So in that part where you're saying like a women get emotional, so look at that, where you have to exhibit strength all the time. And now we're saying like, we don't want you to exhibit that, but that's literally the critique is women can't be strong. They're so emotional. I remember a story, since you talked about your previous employment. I remember I was training another manager or someone who I thought was going to be a manager. And like there was a situation with COVID and all hell was breaking loose at this location. And I said, hey, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna take care of it because I'm seasoned and I understand how these things go. And I remember our leader said, no, I need to see how she performs under this type of stress so that I can decide if I'm going to be able to move her to, you know, a leadership level. And I remember she cried, and in that moment, I pulled her to the side and I told her, you cannot cry in this situation because they will look at you as weak. And if they look at you as weak, you will never get to that level that you're trying to get to. And I tried to put her to the side and, you know, like make sure she had time to be able to like wipe her face and get her stuff together. And then I gave her the information she needed to know to resolve the situation. Unfortunately, in that moment, people had already saw that she was breaking down. And what I was able to hear on the other side of me was, she'll never have that leadership role. She can't handle it because she gets too emotional. And the thing that bothers me is, why can't you have emotions and still be a really great leader? But I knew in that moment, once the men around us saw her breaking down, and she was not a Black woman, but once they saw her breaking down, it was going to be over.
Yes. And through my corporate journey, you've been able to kind of learn through the stuff through my situations. And that's why I've been able to kind of help navigate you through yours. Like, hey, it don't matter what you do. It don't matter what you say. What they looking to see is when you get weak, how do you respond? You almost have to go in these situations and be the man, which I still think it worked, but it was still terrible advice. You should have been able to go in those situations and be you. But to climb that, to make that climb, sometimes you got to sacrifice. But
so, and you're saying that in one breath, and then in the other breath saying like, hey, Black women are so strong and whatever. Once we started bossing up and becoming bosses, that literally is the advice that every woman has to hear at some point. You can't be emotional. You have to be strong. These people will literally say things to tear you down in your face, and you got to stand tall and take it and keep moving past them, because you know the list of qualifications you have, and you know that this is just a stepping stone to your next level. So you got to eat that and keep moving. So we got to be able to eat that and keep moving, still like take care of these households and be strong while we're doing it, but still looked at as less than and be like, well, why they so strong? They on here trying to beat their chest. Like, what do you expect from us?
And that's starting to become the turning point, right? I don't know if we as men truly still know what that new era of Black woman looks like right now. Do we give you the space to be great? Do we step in and protect? When we try to step in and protect, are we going to be chastised and told, why the hell are we stepping in to protect? So it's like, man, it's for some people, it almost feel better just to step back. I don't agree with the attacking. Like the stuff I'm seeing on social media where someone's putting out their thoughts behind the election, because that's the thing that's more prevalent right now.
Right.
And they're having that moment, and then someone gets on there and they make a counter comment or something, and it's a man. Or what I'm starting to see men put their slick, sly comments out there, and whether they black, Hispanic, white, whatever. And let's say I'll look at the comments. Let's say I got 30 comments. I'll look at the comments. I'll see a white woman to say, yeah, that's right. Like, I'm with you, da 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 da. You'll see white men. You may see a black man say it. Then you see a black man like, man, I don't necessarily agree, da da da. But he don't really go and dig deep. Then you'll see that black woman come in and be like, man, this is BS. Y'all know da 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 da. Like, she tells her truth in that moment. And in that moment, she starts getting attacked. And in that moment, she starts getting attacked. Now everybody starts attacking that comment or that question or that phrase, because now she wanted to live in her truth. And for most people, it's like, man, I'm gonna sit back and watch, because that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's not my household. I don't want people at me crazy and stuff like that. And then you see more and more black women attacking each other just for having the emotions and their feelings behind it. And I'm seeing the black men, as you say, we're not protecting. Like, we're now I'm starting to see black men put out those different comments like, man, well, why ain't we doing this? Why ain't we doing that? To almost create a narrative like black women aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So I hear you. I see it. I agree with you. We need to be more protective of our queens. We're not doing it. The question is, how do we get to a place where we can do it better and feel like it's a safe space to do it? Maybe that's the disconnect, where we as black men don't know when and right it's a safe space to attack, to help defend or protect. Sometimes people just don't want that drama in their life.
So, I mean, you said a lot. I guess the last takeaway that I'll get from that is that black men don't know the right time or space to do that. And I'll say the right time is now. Pick a space. Like, women definitely want to feel protected, especially black women in this time. So whether that's, protecting someone small, if we're talking about social media and you see someone voicing their whatever, I mean, just pick a time to stand up in front of a woman and say, I got you. What I would love to see, though, is when we see those things happen, whether it's at work and you see, a black woman being disrespected, those are the times to stand up and stand in front of her and say, sis, I got you, because that shouldn't be allowed. But how many times do those things go and people say, oh, I don't want that drama, so they let that go by unseen? So what I'm saying to you is, if you don't know the time, you don't know the place to stand up and stand for your women, the time is now. The place is anywhere. Just stand up and let's support each other. Instead of saying, hey, I don't want the drama, I don't want to see it, I don't want to be involved in it. If we stand up for each other more, then we can come together more as a community, and it won't be this narrative.
I hear you. I feel you. I understand now. Still gonna be certain spaces. It's still not gonna happen, but maybe the conversations can start to be.
Yeah, let's start the conversation.
So that way we start to recognize that, hey, our black women want to be protected. They want their black men to protect them. They want any man really to say, hey, that's not right, regardless of race. But they're especially looking for the sons that they're raising, the nephews, their brothers, their fathers, their uncles, their grandfathers, to step up and say, man, this isn't right. Like, there's no reason to come.
Exactly. I feel like the people that look like me should understand what's happening. And I'll kind of wrap it up with this. I was recently in a meeting, and I keep thinking back to that comment, and we were in a business review.
How recent?
2 days ago. Recent.
Okay.
So this was after the election, but very recent. So, you have to do business reviews in the type of business that I'm in, and I'm in sales, and I run a sales organization. But we present the business, and there's 2 black women in the room, and that's me and another black woman. And, I present, and there's not a lot of questions, whatever. They asked me if I was relocatable. I think that was like what happened after this. But another black woman goes, and she's been with this company for 24 years. And she doesn't get a lot of feedback. She's able to sit down. Someone else is now speaking, but the head of the organization then comes in and says, hey, hold on, I want to circle back and I want to give her feedback. And his feedback to her is to be bigger. And she looks, and he said, I need you to step out of your bubble in the organization you're running, and I need you to be bigger in this organization. And so we all are kind of looking for what happens next. Like, what are you going to add on to that? And he says, just be bigger. And I looked at this other black woman's face, and it felt very like hurtful in that moment. Like, I could feel her pain, and she was sitting across from me. And a lot of other people who weren't women, because again, it was only 2 black women in this room, but even men spoke out afterwards, like, I felt what happened in that room. And what kind of feedback is it to say be bigger? And when I tell you that is the feedback that black women get so often, just be bigger, it's as though to say, hey, you won't get this next level just because it's you. Be bigger. That is the normal white like thing to say to someone, is just be bigger. What kind of feedback is that to give? And what I'm saying, in those moments when you see those type of things, it's now time to speak up. I mean, tell that woman, like, hey, I think you're doing a good job. I'm doing this. I know that woman's like resume because she does so much. And I literally sat and thought, well, how could she be bigger than what she is? She already has such a large resume. And it's those type of things that are really hurtful to us, because it's like, it will never be you. And what is the answer? Because it's you. And I'll leave it at that. But I'm just saying, it's 2024, and I just feel like we could be better. And you're asking, like, when can black men stand up, or when can men stand up and just support women? Now we can. Anytime you see it, stand up. And I promise you, it happens so much and so often. There's an opportunity for you to stand up and stand in front of us and say, I support you. I'm with you. You're doing a good job. And I'm not going to let anyone tear you down. The time is now.
You heard it here on the Boss Fest podcast. The time is now. Black men, we on the clock.
This is Boss Fest Unfiltered, and you got Edwina
and Kevin.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.